Oh my goodness, everybody. Welcome to the community. I am so excited that you guys are here and that you joined us for another incredible session of Core 90. This is our primary training platform within the community where we come together and we share best practice on how to grow your business to the top. And today, this is one of the topics that I'm the most passionate about, guys. Which has everything to do with how to build your business direct to consumer. Avoid waiting for people to show up in your ecosystem, sitting around waiting, hoping your phone will ring, right? This is about how do we purposefully go out and build our business so that things happen because we say so, not because the universe says so. And I think that it gives you the control back. It's an incredible thing. But before we get started, I wanted to mention a couple important announcements that we just have to cover here at the beginning. And for any of you who are joining us as guests, welcome today. We're so excited that you're spending your time with the community. We absolutely love what we do, and you should learn a lot more about it because it's more than just this call. I promise you that. So without further ado, let me introduce our speaker for today. His name is Jason Giles, massive team leader, agent coach, top producer from Central Oregon. And this guy has built both a profitable revenue sharing organization where he's showing agents how to do their business, but also just helping other people around the country sharing this incredible business model. And then beyond that, he and his amazing wife, Jen, they've built an incredible team. They've got all these awesome agents working with them and they're closing deals left and right. And so Jason is a prospecting wizard. This guy believes in prospecting. It's where his heart is, and it's where he comes from as a salesman. And I'm so excited, thrilled, honestly, that Jason decided to spend his time with us today to talk about this topic. Jason, thanks for being here, brother.
Oh, brother, thanks for having me, man. After that introduction, I think we can just drop the mic and walk out now. I love it. I think we're good. Hey, I want to say, thank you for everybody who's made it. Thank you for everybody who showed up. Let's do full disclosure. Prospecting is, to me, it's something we're learning, we're perfecting all of the time. So I'm going to share my screen because I'm going to jump right into it. And here's the deal. I want, as much participation as we can. I want questions. I want feedback. I've got my pen and paper here. I'm rolling my sleeves up. I'm getting ready for this because I'm going to learn something from this. Somebody's going to say something I'm going to take away and I'm going to know that I could use in my business. So, this is a picture of me and my beautiful little girl. She's the youngest of 9 kids. My wife and I were a blended family, and she has 8 older brothers. So she is spoiled. So I took this picture. We were outside of her brother's karate lesson, and me and her were out there and we had the camera up and took this picture. And then Jeff used this, and it's one of my favorite pictures of me and my girl. So prospecting or pretending, she's asking you, what are you doing? She's who I answer to every day. Not Jeff, not Lexi, not the team. This little girl, when I come home and she looks at me, I know I'm telling her whether or not I did good today or not, right? This is who I'm answering to. And she doesn't even know that she's asking. So I'll get into that later. This is one of my whys. So prospecting or pretending, let's start, start prospecting, stop pretending. Let's 10X our business. I'm really hoping you to take something away from this. And in the next 6 to 12 months, you can really see the benefit of what it's doing for your business. There's so many things I wanted to add into this slide that I knew if I did this, it would be a core like 360, it'd be a core 480. It wouldn't be a core 90. So I was trying to respect everybody's time. And try to get through this, but then also answer some questions. And I'll tell you what's made me good at prospecting, and I'm working on being great. And I don't know if I ever get there, but it's going to be a work in progress, is that I've failed. And from failing, I've learned and I've changed and I've adjusted. So let's get into it. Prospector. This is, let me see if my screen will work here. This isn't what we mean by a good prospector. Okay. We're not mining for gold on this. You can't see what it says at the bottom, but CEO's calling his company saying, hey, this isn't what I meant by a good prospector. So what is prospecting? Prospecting, I skipped here a little bit, but I'm gonna get into this. What is prospecting? So first I wanted to get what is pretending out of the way because I want to focus a lot of the prospecting. So here's what pretending is to me. And it hit me like a ton of bricks 2 weeks ago. And I realized how much I was pretending, even though I felt I was a phenomenal prospector. So calling leads that you have already spoken with. Okay, guy, would that be prospecting or would that be follow-up? Anybody? Prospect or follow-up?
Follow-up.
Okay. Now, putting out, prospecting is a number of things. Open houses. If we're doing an open house and we put out 2 signs and we do no marketing, did we really prospect? Did we really try to get, business for that? No, we didn't, right? We didn't put the signs out. So over researching and not completing the task. Now, this may sound funny, but here's a big one. I'm gonna get into a lot of this. We've got plenty of time here. It's one of those to where you're gonna start calling a for sale by owner, and you're researching how many times is it sold, who lives there, do they have pets, what's going on, and all of a sudden it's like, oops, it's lunchtime. I got to go meet my friend, and you never pick up the phone. Just pick up the phone. You've acted like you're going to prospect. You were ready to do it. You had all of the information down. It's all on your pen and paper. You're getting ready to call them, and then boom, you got to leave. Or guess what? We got lucky. My great aunt called from Berlin. Now I don't have to make the call to the for sale by owner, but hey, I was about to do it. Not tracking. This is a big one. This is a really big one. You can prospect somewhat, but when you're not tracking your numbers, you're not really prospecting. You're pretending, because how can you look at your numbers and say, okay, I've made 100 calls, or I think I've made 100 calls, but you really don't know that. Okay, you're not tracking. You're not getting into it. You don't know what you need work on. We don't know if we're converting. You'll be surprised when they did studies on this, and people who tracked versus who did not track on the business that they ended up getting, right? How many conversations they had. And they would talk to salespeople, and they'd say, hey, like they come into the office and they'd have 10 people making calls. And they would go to them at the end of the day and say, how many calls do you think you made? Well, I made 70 calls. How many calls do you think you made? I made 40 calls. Well, when they look at the system that they used to track those calls, nobody was right. As a matter of fact, they all made a significantly less amount of calls than what they felt they did on tracking that. So if your goal is to have 20 contacts, which it should be per day, you need to track that, okay? Use your CRM. I'm going to get into CRM later in this. You should be the CEO, and Jeff knows where I'm coming from this, the CEO of your CRM. That is your gold mine, and we'll get into why that is. Avoiding the task, finding meaningless things to do for reasons that are not more important. I put taking out the trash, and the reason I did that is because I caught myself 2 weeks ago in the middle of agent attraction calls, and then I decided I was going to go take the trash out in the office, and guess what I didn't do after I took the trash out? I did not make any more calls. So you're going to hear me say a lot of things that I did. That's what I mean by failing, right? I seen that, and I said, what are you doing? Now, don't get me wrong. The next day I had to make more calls. Well, guess what? It was even more uncomfortable the next day because I had to make up for the day before. So instead of talking to 5 agents, I had to talk to 10. I would have much rather went back to the day before and talked to 5 instead of talking to 10. The list can go on. I love this. However, we need to prospect. So before I go on with pretending to prospect, what it really comes down to is saying we're going to do something, and then we end up ultimately finding a reason not to do it that we felt was more important. And we have to understand that prospecting is the core to our business, because without new clients, we don't have more closings. We don't have potential referrals. Prospecting is the key. And I'm going to get into how we can do that, how you can grow doing that, what it can mean for your business. So before I move on from this, is there anybody in here that could share something with me that they feel, Jeff, whoever, Jordan, what is something that maybe would be an aha that you found yourself doing in the middle of lead generating that became a habit that you then stopped lead generating? Anybody?
I'll confess. It's definitely research. I've over researched in the past. Even when we were doing listing lead generation, if it's for agents, whatever, telling yourself that you're preparing, but you're not really preparing, you're delaying, right? And so it's pretending for sure. And I think I heard JJ on there.
Yeah, early on, I used to celebrate too much when I would get an appointment, and I would stop my prospecting. It's like, no, man, keep it going, right? Because you got an appointment doesn't mean you stop.
I love you guys giving the feedback, because I just wrote that down, celebrating, because that's something that I found myself doing, and I'm sure others have, that once you get that appointment, it's almost like, okay, I can stop, right? I got the appointment. Uh-oh, they no-showed. What do I do now, right? So that's awesome. Over-researching, which we do that a lot, and then celebrating, where we're celebrating a win. Hey, I'm all for celebration, but let's celebrate after we've hit our daily goal. If that was 20 contacts and 3 appointments, don't celebrate until you've got the 20 contacts and the 3 appointments. Then go after.
And
So,
hey, Jason, I'm watching
yes.
the chat here. Lexi put in laundry and a laughing out loud face. And then she also said planning. But you know, that probably rings true for a lot of people, because the truth is, since all of us are working from home these days, I should say, I mean, there you are in your office, but you've got a team. But most agents working from home, there are domestic disturbances that can get kind of in the way of productivity, right? So that's a fairly unifying thing.
100%. That's one of the reasons why we got the office. So I'm glad that you're reading the chat, because I'm still learning how to read. So this is working from home is tough, because you have to find a solution to say, hey, I know that I have a habit of, I love to go get a protein shake when I really don't need one. I'm going to go grab that. You know, for me, I like just grabbing a piece of cheese, right? Well, then if you're working from home, here's something you could do. Say you're going to do a certain amount of calls or tasks or whatever it may be before you go do that thing that you know interrupts your business. I'm gonna do this XYZ times before I go walk the dog for the 26th time this morning. You know, just make a goal with what you're going to do. So we can find a lot of things that are interruptions. And really what that came down to me was I was pretending to be prospecting when I knew I was going to be finding things that were going to interrupt the prospecting. And I could say, well, I did pretty good. Well, you know what? Pretty good, honestly, has not got me where I know we're going to go. So it's time to stop pretending. And I found some very simple ways to be prospecting. So I'm going to go over this. I know a lot of us know this, but sometimes it's like hear the same thing from a different person. And all of a sudden you're like, you're a genius. And the first person's like, well, what about me? Well, you're a genius too, but this guy said it better. This girl said it better, right? It's just kind of reiterating what we need to do. I was sharing with Jeff, everybody knows, or they should know, or they're going to know, I'm reading Fanatical Prospecting right now. So that's why this is a big thing to me. And I told him, I said, I realized that I'm going to have this book in my office or at my house that I can pick up periodically when I know I am not doing what I need to do for prospecting, and remind myself what we need to do. So it's a daily reminder, something that you can do to keep yourself going. All right. What is prospecting? Prospecting, let me move this right here. Oops. Prospecting is an act of finding someone who is interested in buying or selling property. Real estate agents conduct prospecting through conversations, emails, and other forms of marketing to find new clients and generate business from their company. When prospecting, it's possible that the marketing efforts of real estate agents might not have, this is a big one, any successful effect until weeks or months afterwards. That's why it can be important for agents to perform prospecting tasks daily to ensure a consistent flow of customers. Now, you guys probably thought I made that up myself, but nope, I Googled it. I just want to make sure everybody knows that. Here's what was really big to me. We know all of the stuff we have to do. We know we've got to email. We know we've got to make calls. But what was really big on this, and I've heard it a million times, is that it may not be business for weeks or months. And that it's important for us as agents to perform prospecting tasks daily to ensure a consistent flow of customers. I'm guilty of this. I get 5 or 6 or 8 under contract, and then I stop prospecting. And then guess what? I have -4, 5, or 6 under contract. I'm restarting my business over because I know that I'm 60 to 90 days out from my next transaction. I'm going to get into here a lot of the time management part, and I think that that's what's really big for this. So that's prospecting. We know that. We know we have to find new clients. Let's get into a few things of what we can be doing for prospecting, what I do for prospecting, what makes it fruitful for us, and that we're actually excited to do, because we're setting ourselves up right to actually have a powerful prospecting hour, 2 hours, open house, whatever it may be. So I'm going to reach out to some people after this, but prospecting activities. We have open houses, cold calls, not warm calls. That kind of goes back to a warm call is somebody you've already been talking to, right? That's not a cold call. A lot of agents, when I talk to them, they say, well, I don't like cold calling. I go, well, what do you mean by cold calling? They say, well, you know, when somebody comes in from one of my lead sources, I don't like to call people like that. I say, okay, well, that's not a cold call. A cold call is, now some of you may not know this, so you might have to pick up your phones and Google it, is picking up a yellow pages, right? We were talking about yellow pages in the office, and I had to ask some of the team here if they knew what the yellow pages were, and they did. But that's cold calling, picking up the yellow pages and starting off with A and calling up. I'm going to start off with Jay, and I'm going to call Jordan and say, hey, Jordan, this is Jason Giles with EXP. Who are you? That's a cold call. They're not expecting us to call. They don't know what's going on, and we're trying to capture the business. Mailers. I'm going to get into mailers, but mailers, with anything that we're talking about here, it's consistency. if you're pretending to prospect with mailers is sending out 1 month of mailers and then never doing it again. You pretended to do that. You did it for a month and it said, oh, it didn't work out. Door knocking, which I know all of us love to do because everybody who answers the door, they're always nice. In our neighborhoods, they usually have cupcakes or some kind of tea or something waiting for us to show up. So door knocking is one of the things that we do. Circle prospecting. I know there's a few people on here that do it. Alex, a good friend of mine, does it. Jordan's doing circle prospecting. Expireds and FSBOs. I'm going to get into how you can really work all of these and make them really great prospecting activities. Now, I put 80-20 at the bottom of most of these here. Does anybody know what 80-20 is or what that would mean? If not, it's cool. But does anybody have an idea?
Hey, Jason, I'll jump in. So it's the Pareto principle. It says that 80% of your results are dictated by 20% of your activities. And really quickly, we had a question in the chat that said, what is circle prospecting? So for anyone who doesn't know, circle prospecting would be to pull up all of the phone numbers, for instance, in a neighborhood and call through them systematically. Think of it as a phone call door knocking. For an area. That's circle prospecting. It's not necessarily like calling expireds. Expireds are people with very high intent. They've recently tried to sell and haven't been successful. Or for sale by owners, they have high intent. Circle prospecting is geographic, not intent-based.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, and circle prospecting, we'll go over that too. And you can actually pair that with your door knocking. You can pair that with your farming. This is about being purposeful and highly intentional, you know what I'm saying, with prospecting. I love to talk. I didn't say I can't talk. Okay. Expireds and FSBOs, we'll get into that. So understanding the goal. So this was a big one for me. I was pumped up. I'm coming in the office. I'm going to make calls for 2 hours and boom, here I go. And I just open up my CRM and I start going. I realized that that's not prospecting. It's not prospect. Okay. I'm making calls. What was I purposeful that call? Who was I trying to target? What was I targeting for? Was it buyers? Was it sellers? So understanding the goal, time block, task. What task are you doing? Are you doing open houses? What kind of prospecting are you doing? Contacts. How many contacts are you going to make? Tools, preparation. Do you have your tools? Do you have your preparation? Are you ready? Do you know who you're going to target? Do you know what you're going to do? Or are we just kind of on a whim? Some people are big on role play and scripts. We are implementing scripts here, not so much, and this is just us, everybody's different, not so much that we're going to read those verbatim, but I think it's phenomenal to know a script that you can always go back to in case you get lost in the conversation. So I've got 25 scripts in front of me, just so you guys know, okay? Appointments. We got to know that getting on these prospecting calls or these prospecting tasks or activities, it's about creating the appointment. We are very rarely going to be talking to somebody or running to somebody that they're going to say, hey, I'm ready, I want to buy, here we go. So we need to make sure that we are purposeful and we understand that when we are doing these prospecting tasks, that we need to make sure we are setting up the next appointment. If we're not setting up the next appointment when we're on these prospecting tasks, our percentage of sales, our percentage of conversions, they are going to go down. Set the expectation with whoever you're talking to of the next time that you two are committed to spending time together again via an appointment. Okay. 80-20 again. All right. I've seen this. I'm sure 100 people have seen this, right? That was me at the bottom a long, long time ago. I was almost there. Now I'm back at the top and look, I'm fierce. I'm ready to go. That's an actual picture of me, by the way. My hair is a little bit longer there. So are you ready to go the distance? All right. Are you ready to get the gold mine? Everybody always says there's gold at the end of this, your CRM. I'm really hoping that at the end of this, there's some powerful information that you guys say, okay, that really stuck with me. And now I understand why I have to do this, why I can't answer my phone, why I can't answer my emails, why I can't take out the trash, why Lexi can't do laundry during prospecting. I want to make sure that we get this and know how powerful it is, because in 12 months, I want to see everybody's business grow. And I'm hoping somebody texts and says, man, thank you for that 90 minutes that day. It really changed my career. So here we go. Open houses. This is where I'll get some feedback from everybody here. Some people do it different. There's no real, there is a couple of ways that I'm gonna say are not right. I don't like to use the word wrong, but there's a couple of ways that maybe are not right for open houses. But here's what we do. We didn't used to put 20 signs out, but then I showed up to this Core 90 one time and I was told I should put 20 signs out. So now we put 20 signs out, and we have people show up at these open houses because of these signs. Sign-in sheet. Make sure you have it. Dress for the job you want. I know that this sounds funny, but we can't, be prepared for this. Don't show up at your open house in sweats and a t-shirt because you're running late. I mean, this is one of the best chances you have when you're prospecting. An open house is to prospect. You are prospecting for new clients. That's what the open house is for. It is not to sell the open house. If you happen to sell it, phenomenal, but you're prospecting. Dress for the job you want. So here's what I mean by this. We did an open house out here in the area. It's an $800,000 property. A gentleman shows up that he's looking for $1 million home, paying cash, and he's going to sell his house that I haven't looked at the comparables, probably somewhere between 1.4 and 1.6 in North Albany. You think if he showed up and the agents who were doing the open house were kind of just dressed blah, that he would want to even entertain giving the information to do business with them? Probably not, right? So we're dressing for that $1 million listing. We are dressing for that $1 million buyer or $1 million seller. That's what I mean by dressing for the job you want. And it's funny because I learned this from a 22-year-old who's my wife's cousin, that he got a job in Beaverton that he does not have to show up to because he can work from home. And when he does show up, he can wear sweats and a t-shirt. Guess what? He's in IT, okay? A lot of guys can do that in IT. So he doesn't do that. He shows up every day at the office, and he shows up in slacks, button up, and a tie. And he is dressing for the job. He wants to own the company. He doesn't just want to be the employee that works from home. And he's had his superiors come to him and say, we recognize what you're doing. He already has some perks because of that, and he's already gotten a raise because of that. So dress for the job you want. Okay, 22-year-old taught me that. That's phenomenal. Do a video. When you're doing open houses, even if you don't like to do videos, do a video facing the other way about the open house. Here's the house. Here we go. You're marketing for that. We're prospecting for clients to show up via video. Update the MLS. I've done open houses for other agents before where I'm there and nobody shows up, and I should have looked and I didn't. I looked in the MLS and it was never updated that an open house was going to be happening that weekend. So guess what? It didn't go to Zillow, didn't go to realtor.com, didn't go to any of the sites that buyers could be looking at to come to the open house. Door knock the neighborhood. This is prospecting. This is a task. The reason why I say be purposeful of this is because if we're not doing all of these things and we're just showing up with 2 signs and no marketing, then we're not going to have anybody show up to it. So door knock the neighborhood. And when you're door knocking the neighborhood, I know we don't like doing that. I was joking earlier, but door knock the neighborhood, bring a flyer, and all you're doing is inviting the neighbors to come because you feel that their feedback is valuable for you to help that seller. Everybody wants to help. I knock on the door. Liz answers. Hey, Liz, Jason, I'm doing an open house over here on 123 Main Street. Here's a flyer of all the information on it. Listen, I would love for you to show up and stop by. This is something that we do for our sellers. We really want the feedback of the neighborhood to help them sell for the max amount of money. I hope to see you there. Now, what does that do for me? She shows up. That's phenomenal. She doesn't show up. What did I do? We gave her some information and we let her know that we are people in the neighborhood that are listing a home, that we want to help them the max amount of money. I'm planting the seed to possibly circle prospect that neighborhood, which we'll get into later, to prospect and get that client. Call potential clients. So anybody you have that would be potential client for that home, even let's just say the home is 50 grand too much. Let's say maybe it has 1 less bedroom. Call the client you're working with. Say, hey, I haven't seen you in a little while. Why don't you swing by the open house? Here's one way I look at that for prospecting. Maybe that's not the house for them. That's some of you talked to before, but when you're treating those people right, you're inviting them to things that you're doing. You want to show them other properties, even if it may not fit. They're coming, they're having snacks with you, they're hanging out. Guess what? They're probably going to send you referrals because you're the only agent who's done that. You're going to be there for 2 hours. Have somebody show up. Snacks, info sheet, other open houses. Bring something there. One, I need snacks because if I'm there by myself, I need a snack on something because that's just what I'll do. But bring something that when people come in, they can have some snacks, they can have a drink, have other open houses that are available, ready to talk about or show them or give them information on. Make sure that they have your card when they go to those. So when you're doing these open houses, and I can get into a long time about that, and I keep watching my phone so I can make sure that we're on time. There's a lot that you could do with these, but it has to be purposeful when you're this is a prospecting activity. And honestly, for, when money's not great, when money's tight, this is where you should be spending 2 or 3 days a week is at different open houses. Thursday nights, Friday nights, Saturday, Sunday during the day, We're implementing now with all of our new listings that we're going to do a neighborhood only open house, a happy hour open house for the neighborhood only from 5 to 7 on Friday nights, because we are prospecting for the neighborhood only to see if they might want to sell their home or if they know somebody who wants to buy. So somebody sprinkle in something that they do on open houses that they feel is a huge benefit to everybody on this call.
Hey, Jason, while we're waiting for somebody to kind of raise their hand here, first off, I absolutely love open houses. And a lot of times agents, let's say, approach, and we've all been guilty of this, by the way, we'll approach an open house like it's a marketing behavior instead of like it's a prospecting behavior, which makes it it makes it passive instead of purposeful. I'll just be there. Gosh, I hope somebody shows up. And what I like about this is if you door knock the neighborhood, let's say you knock 100 doors, you hand out 20 flyers because not everybody answers, you're doing 20 signs on all the major intersections. So now you're diverting traffic from major roads all the way to that house, et cetera. Now you're actively directing traffic. I mean, even if you think about this just from digital marketing, right? Like those of us who do online, like internet marketing, you're moving traffic from where it currently exists to the place where you want it. But what I like is it's one event for you where you could meet multiple potential clients. And that is an amazing opportunity. But anytime I hear an agent say, well, I did an open house and nobody showed up, I'm like, that's an unlikely event. If you're door knocking 100 doors and putting out 20 signs, even just those two things right there would move enough traffic that you should be having people show up. And if that's not the case, it might be because you're holding an open house, way out in the boonies or something like that. But outside of that, if you're near something major and you're doing those things, I love the idea of video right now as well, and leveraging video to continue to grow your business. I think that's terrific. Linda McComish says that she always invites a lender to be there with her. JJ says he'll put on the football game for Sunday. That's nice. People know that it's there. One of the other things that I've done, depending on where it's located, and I'll say this one just for the value of the group, is if you have a house that you're going to hold open and it's near an elementary school, hold your open house right around the time when school lets out. There's a built-in traffic source coming to pick up kids, and you will get an unbelievable amount of pop-ins to that open house. Start an hour before school lets out, right when everyone's starting to line up. It's a terrific opportunity, and young families are continuing to think maybe we need to, get our next house. Maybe we need a little bit more room, a little bit more space, be in the neighborhood, get the kids closer to school. It's a little bit of a hack there.
Thanks for jumping in. Thanks for reading the comments because I can't even see them. But this is what I mean. I know that this isn't about, we're going to learn about open houses. We're going to learn about cold calling. I know that that's not what this is about. This is about, we already do these. How can we make this purposeful prospecting? How can we make it fruitful for us when we're out there? This needs to be just like when Jeff did the Core 90, and I can't get this out of my head. Every day needs to be, I have to sell a house today because if I don't, whatever that stick is, okay, whatever it is, that's going to happen. Well, when you're doing these prospecting activities, it needs to be the thing that is number one to you. No other phone, no nothing. How can I market the best? Because everybody can raise their hand. I know everybody would. Nobody wants to do an open house and spend 4 hours of their day, regardless of the day, regardless of the time, and nobody shows up. So if we're going to already spend the time doing that, let's spend the time on preparing video, making sure it's updated to MLS, door knock. Spend that time so somebody can come out there. And guess what? If you spent 4 hours on an open house and somebody comes in with the average sales price right now, that's a $10,000 commission. So, 4 hours, 10 grand, I should be doing more open houses. I might leave this video right now and go do one because that's a lot of money. Okay. So make it purposeful. All right. So cold calling, this is a big one. And this is something that, even last night when I was reading, I learned something that I was doing that I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to change this. This is phenomenal. So cold calling, we talked about this a little bit. Cold calling is really somebody that you've never talked to or you've never done business. Okay. Now, we'll also talk about leads that are coming in that you're possibly filtering into your CRM, filtering into your funnel, whatever it may be. But cold calling, we have it to where you could call new leads. To me, new lead is a warm/cold call because you've never talked to them, but you're going to reach out for the first time. They've come into your funnel. Okay. Expireds. That's a real cold call. All right. Here's what I love about expireds is that they've already raised their hand to say they want to sell. And we all know this, the majority of expireds didn't sell because of price. Everything will sell for the right price. So that's a cold call. For sale by owners, cold call. Understanding the difference between a cold call and a warm call is one of the differences between prospecting and pretending. So here's what I mean by that is when we're going in, and in my CRM, we have things labeled, and we're going to be doing new labels, which I know the team is loving to hear this right now while I'm on this Core 90, but we're going to be doing some new labels to help identify what our prospecting activity is for that day with our CRM, with our cold/warm calls. So when you're going in there, you can I'm teaching a little bit of this with the CRM because to me this is powerful. Hashtag your clients in there based on where they're at in the process. If it's somebody that's a prospect because you can't get a hold of them, hashtag it prospect. Hashtag it as a new lead, somebody that you're trying to get a hold of, etc. Hashtag as an active client. And here's why. When you get into your CRM, we use KV Core, so you guys see if your CRM will do this. I can go at the top and I can put hashtag new lead, and I'm not going to be bombarded with other leads in there that are not a brand new lead. And that's what my focus is for my prospecting that day. Now, I will also go in there. There'll be times where I go in there and I have hashtags of no phone number. Now I could do a mass email because everybody pops up that doesn't have a phone number. I can do a mass email to those. And all I'm doing is saying, hey, I have great news. What is the best number to contact you at? And now I've just mass emailed 350 people that don't have a phone number on there, and maybe one of them will come back. So that's understanding what your prospecting activity is that day as far as narrowing it down to who am I trying to target? What am I trying to do? Okay. So cold calling, which is with circle prospecting. Jordan does this as well. He and I were talking about a little bit. If you're going to circle prospect, I'm going to say, do not circle prospect an area without doing a little bit of research for it. Now, I'm really big on don't wait till your website's perfect before you post it. Don't over research. We've already talked about this. But why don't you find out what the turnover rate is in that neighborhood? Why don't you find out how many renters are in that? You could spend a couple hours researching and then have a 2-hour fruitful circle prospecting call because you know that what the turnover is in that area, you know what you're going to be expecting when you're calling those people. If you're doing circle prospecting in a neighborhood and the turnover rate is very, very low, a lot of people stay in that neighborhood for a long time and you're trying to get listings, not going to be the best place to circle prospect. You want to find something that has a high turnover rate, that maybe they sell every 3 to 5 years. That's on average in that neighborhood. Now you know you have a really good chance of prospecting and getting that. So here's what I mean is if I have an area that I'm prospecting and it has a low turnover rate, and Jeff has an area that has a high turnover rate, and he and I both circle prospect 2 hours per day, we use the same script, make the same amount of calls, talk to the same amount of people, he's going to have a better outcome because he is targeting an area that has a higher turnover rate. So that's what I mean by being very purposeful of what you're doing. You could be the best circle prospector in the world making those calls, but if you're doing it to the wrong neighborhood, it's not going to work for you. I hope that's powerful, is really knowing who you're targeting and what the turnover rate is for that. So we'll move on to mailers. This is something that, go ahead,
hey,
Jeff.
Jason. Yeah, no, this is such a great point. And I love that you're looking at turnover rate. And this is something I was always aware of when we would dial in and be looking, especially if we had 4 houses we could do an open house at. We'd look at how many houses had sold per year for like the past 4 years. And we're looking for trend data. And then also length of ownership. You can get that from your title company. Many times you can sort by that on your MLS. And so you're looking for high predictability. If a house or if a neighborhood has been pretty stale for a while, you're not going to be the person to like change that, right? That's like getting into a relationship and being like, he's kind of an asshole, but I'm going to make him amazing, right? That's the wrong way to go about it. Just find a nice person. And so, but what's beautiful with this is you can find high intent. The other thing is where do you get paid more per deal? A higher price point. So if you have a choice between two houses to do an open house, guess what? A $500,000 neighborhood versus a $200,000 neighborhood with the same turnover rate, the choice should be obvious because you're getting paid 250% for the same exact paperwork, the same exact effort, et cetera. So always be thinking of your business as a business. And remember, we all came into real estate to help people, and that is awesome, right? However, you still have to get paid in the process. And as it turns out, the people who get paid the most have the most so they can help the most people. So you still have to run a great business along the way. So you're going to be looking for, where can I change lives, help people, create an impact, pour into my community while also making a huge living? That means I'm going to go where the price points are highest, the turnover rate's the highest. There's high predictability of me increasing my income so that my outcomes are good. And that's going to keep you motivated over time. I love this mindset, dude.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate you jumping in on that. So, and that's, and I hope that that's coming across the right way, because that's what I'm trying to share here. I get pretty passionate about this stuff because I'm like, all of us are, some of us, me, maybe none of us, are just a couple steps away from being millionaires. And I think it's the key to this is the prospecting, making sure that we're very purposeful about what we're doing, the tasks we're doing. So mailers, and this is something that I'm learning. We're implementing some of this mailers into our current business here. So I put on this one, in all things, consistency is the key, because you can't expect results from doing something 2 or 3 times. You've got to consistently do it. So if you were this is back to circle prospecting, back to picking that neighborhood. Well, you're now doing the calls, but then now you're sending mailers to that same neighborhood, which also we'll talk about door knocking that same neighborhood. You are going to be the pro in that neighborhood, and that is prospecting activities, and it's purposeful. You are going to send out every time in that neighborhood, every time something has sold, whether it was yours or not. You're updating the neighborhood. Hey, recently sold home. If you like information on this transaction, give me a call. Whatever you may put in that mailer, but you got to mail it. Recently listed, whether it's yours or somebody else's, if you're doing that neighborhood. This also goes to what your own listings that you do, if you're doing it consistent with every single listing that you have. Recently sold, recently listed. Okay. Active buyers. Here's a good one. This is a DeLuca mailer. You guys have maybe heard of this as well. Every Thursday, he would send out, he and his team would send out a postcard to a designated area or areas. They would do it on a mass level of 3 active buyers that they have. It would be number 1, Jeff, Lexi, looking in Phoenix, Arizona, or whatever, up to 500,000. Jackie looking in, whatever, up to 300,000. That's all it would say for 3 buyers. If you know anybody, please reach out to me at this number. He didn't just do it 2 times and then all of a sudden he got a lot of business, because that's not what happened. He had consistently done it to where now he's got calls after calls after calls that were coming in. But here's the thing, those calls will stop if that prospecting activity stops. Okay, so that's what I mean by consistency. You have to consistently do it. Market updates, sending out to the area that you are farming, market updates, mail them out to your sphere, mail them out to your past clients, send out market updates, send out value. What you're doing with that is when you're sending this stuff out, you've got to make sure that you're asking for some kind of business, because that's a prospecting activity. We are sending these out because we are prospecting for new clients. It's not a waste of time because I'm going to do some mailers. It's a prospecting activity that can help you bring in more business. So in all things, consistency is key. So door knocking, this is something that I know a lot of us probably don't like to do. But what I found after COVID, a lot of people got scared. Don't come over to the house. Don't do this. I'm feeling that we are getting more people who are open to us coming to their home, because now we're finally getting back to pre-COVID of, oh, this is what we would do. So we're not having a lot of people get upset with us. Door knocking to me is very, very powerful. When you're door knocking, door knock with purpose. All right. So for example, we door knock at our open houses. Like I said earlier, we're inviting people to come in. When you're going to do this, like I said, I'm not big on a role play, but have a script that you would use of what your purpose is for that. So if you're doing an open house and you're door knocking, we know we'd say we'd love to invite you to the open house. Well, let's say we're not doing that. We're trying to get business. What I like to do when we door knock is I like to ask whoever answers the door, I let them know who I am. And I say, hey, I'm Jason Giles. I'm with eXp Realty. Hey, listen, I know you may not be selling right now, but I want to give you my information because you might know someone who is looking to buy or sell a home. Would it be okay if I send you market updates on what's going on in your area? It doesn't have to be this long, drawn out script, but make sure you are asking for them for business from someone that they may know. I find that to be more fruitful for us because most people don't like it when you come to their door and you're like, hey, do you want to sell your house right now? So Jeff, you've done a lot of door knocking. What did you use when you were doing that to try to get new business? No open house, no recently sold. What did you do?
Absolute favorite strategy is to literally just provide a flyer that has market update statistics for that neighborhood. Active, pending, and sold. Multiples in each category. You may have to adjust your timelines or price ranges, et cetera, to make sure that it's all there. But hey, Jason, it's nice to meet you. We're just coming around. We knew a lot of people had been asking what's going on in the neighborhood and how are things moving, and we wanted to keep everyone updated and informed. If you had any questions, that'd be great. Hope you enjoy this. And they grab it. They usually start closing the door and we'll say, hey, by the way, before you let you go, I'm just curious, do you happen to know of any of your neighbors? We wouldn't ask about them because you don't want to make it personal. People reject personalizing the conversation. But if you ask about neighbors, they're more comfortable. Do you happen to know any of your neighbors who might be thinking about selling their house? And then they'll respond to that. You just leave it open-ended. The way I just left blank space there, that's hard for agents to stop talking. And then, so we just leave that open air. They will fill it in with what's called a response. And then from there, what we can do is we can also, generally speaking, they're going to say no. Guys, I'm just going to give you the heads up. Most people say no. I don't really know any. Okay, no problem. By the way, a couple people have said yes, and I'm just curious, do you happen to know of anyone who might want to buy here in the neighborhood? And I always say this because it's always nice to pick your neighbors. That's it. I've asked about buyers and sellers. I'm done. They've got my contact information on the flyer. Here's the sneaky part of this. I've had people call back 18 months later, and they said, hey, you came through and you left a flyer with us and we've had that on the fridge. Wanted to give you a call. You had my flyer on your fridge for 18 months? That's crazy, but people do that. I just want you guys to know there's a power in this. But like Jason said before, you don't do it 3 times, you do it for 3 years. That's how you get successful.
It's awesome that a lot of stuff that you do, it's kind of similar to what we do, right? Because we read a lot of the same stuff. This is when you're not asking for direct business from them, people are more willing to say, hey, yes, I want to do something. And this is what I mean by understanding what the goal is when you go out. So I'm going to say what we said at the beginning. The purpose of me door knocking that door is to hopefully be able to either get somebody who might want to buy or sell, but the main purpose is I would love a chance to set up an appointment. If you get the opportunity, you need to set the appointment with any and everybody you are prospecting with. If they say, you know what, I don't know, I've been thinking about selling, I'm just not sure what I want to do. Hey, fantastic, Jeff. Listen, I like to call that an information day. All right, what's a good day next week? Tuesday or Wednesday, however you do your scripts. What's a good day next week that I can come by? I can give you all the information on your home. I can let you know what it could sell for, what kind of marketing strategies we do, just like what we're doing right now by knocking this neighborhood to see, make sure people are updated with their market. You're trying to set the appointment. However you're doing it, if they give you the opportunity, you've got to go in for it. The last thing you want to do, which I've done way too many times, is walk away from the conversation and say, dang it, that guy in a way, or that person in a way, or that girl in a way gave me an opportunity to ask for an appointment and I didn't go after it because I was too afraid because they actually answered their door. When they answer their door, we need to be like someone who gets a brand new kitten and we just want to love it. We have this person in front of us, so we want to talk to them. We want to do what we got to do. So go after the appointment. So apps, I put this in here because there's so many apps out there right now that we could use for door knocking that are phenomenal. So get with whoever you are working with your title company, whoever has it. There's HomeSnap, there's all of these apps that are out there. Get an app and bring it with you. Have it ready for that specific neighborhood. You can literally take a picture of that house on these apps now, and it'll give you all the breakdown of the information. Like, that is purposeful prospecting. If you've got somebody who said, yes, I may or may not want to do something, snap a picture of that house. It'll give you all the information from when they bought it, if they refinanced it, whose name it's under, everything. And now you have that to go back and you could start sending that specific person. Now your prospecting has turned into people you've talked to that you are sending out updates to. Okay. It's not just I door knocked and now I'm moving on. All right. So apps, they're very important. Here's another thing when you're door knocking. If someone doesn't answer the door, take a look at that house. Does it have a bad roof? Are the gutters overflown? Is there a lot of trash in the front yard? Look at the condition of the home. that home could have someone who maybe it's a rental. It's not being taken care of. Maybe it's someone who doesn't have the money to fix the things that need to be fixed. Those are people that may need to sell that house. Well, guess what? That's a different prospecting block that we're going to be doing when we're prospecting for people who maybe need to sell because of taxes or the home has just become too much. Go ahead, Lexi.
Hey, Jason. So you just kind of triggered something in my brain, and I love that you talk about intentionality. And one of the things is that we don't usually write out the protocol for all the pieces. So what I mean by that is, let's say you go to an open house and you talk to somebody, maybe they tell you, yeah, we're just looking. And you're like, awesome. Do you mind if I keep in touch? I'm happy to answer questions as you go through this process, be a resource for you, blah, blah, blah. But then do you go home, do you go back to your office and send them an email? And then do you set the course for how frequently you need to get in touch with them? Or do you have a way to keep a note? You add them to your CRM and then you say, okay, I met Joe and Stacy and I called them back just to say thanks for coming by. I got them set up on an MLS drip. And, in 2 weeks, I'm going to check back with them. Like, that's the thing is we are like, oh, I went to an open house and look, I got this list of emails and you don't do anything with it. But we need to have a protocol because it's like, cleaning the kitchen for me doesn't mean I rinse the dishes and leave them in the sink, right? We all know that. Like, there's more to it, but oftentimes we stop at one or maybe two steps and we forget the follow-up. We forget the continuation of it.
So I love that you brought that up because everybody's getting to know me a little bit. I can kind of get all over the board, but this is stuff that I'm passionate about because I can see how powerful it can be for everybody, right? So what you triggered for me, Lexi, when you said that is we remember all of those people that were probably going to be really good potential business when we have no business and we're stressing to find business. And we wish we would have went home, we would have called them, we would have followed up, we would have taken care of that, right? So protocol, what I talked to the team about doing is when we're done with the open house, come back to the office or depending on where the open house is, maybe just go home. But the first thing you do before you're done for the day, because you are still prospecting, okay? Prospecting from the open house for me is when you start from when you're getting there to door knock until you get home, you've made your last call or put your last person in the CRM that you followed up with from that open house. So what we do is we'll get back to the office or get back to the house and we'll call everybody who came through. Hey, thank you so much for coming in. Just wanted to make sure that all of your questions were answered, possibly see if they want to go see a property that afternoon. Okay. We got to put them into the CRM. And then after that, we're going to talk about CRM and how powerful this is with our prospecting, because without the CRM, without doing that, none of this is going to matter for us because we're never going to have the right follow-up. But put them in the CRM and putting them under the right category. Okay.
Hey Jason.
Yeah.
And I love that you're getting into this. And I couldn't agree more with Lexi. By the way, I'm the one that rinses the dishes and then leaves them in the sink in our house. But she's like, but I had one of my earliest coaches said to me, guys, and it changed my life. He said, your memory is a terrible tool and your business should rely on your memory 0% of the time. So think about that and do an internal audit. How often are you relying on your memory for your business to make money? And if the answer is more than 0% of the time, figure out a system or a process that you can put in place. And I'm guessing we're going to hit that in the CRM component, right? Which can replace your memory, because your memory is jacked. If you ever want to read the statistics, just be like, how good is the human memory? And then you'll find these super depressing statistics about that. So it's just not a very good tool. And by the way, if someone was selling it to you and they're like, hey, I want to sell you this tool, it's only accurate like 4% of the time, but you're going to love it because it's built into you. No, I don't want that. That's going to ruin my business. So if you're relying on your memory, it probably is ruining your business. And I love that we're covering that today. Thanks for doing that, man.
Boom. I'm actually starting this tomorrow at 10 a.m. and I can't wait. I'm going to be in Independence hanging out with the famous Liz Boisvert. I said that right. She's going to be teaching me and help me grow with KV Core. As extroverted as I might be, I'm very humble. I know there's so much to learn. So door knocking, time of day. like what you talked about, Jeff. We don't want to do an open house. We're not going to do it from midnight to 2 a.m., right? Nobody's going to show up, no matter how much marketing you do. Time of day when you're doing door knocking, what's the best time to go? Look it up. It's not, to me, it may not be the same for all areas. If you're going into more of what's a retirement community, it's not a 5 to 7 door knock time, probably, role play. If you're going to go door knocking, spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, get an accountability partner and just do some quick role play with them. And all you're doing is preparing yourself for those conversations. That's it. Hey, listen, spend 5 minutes with me real quick. I'm going to do some role play to get myself ready. I'm door knocking for a recently listed property that we have out in XYZ, right? So get yourself ready. Goal of contacts. So I think this is where I've missed the boat a lot, where I think a lot of people miss the boat with prospecting. Actually, I don't think a lot of people do miss the boat with this on prospecting. Have a goal of how many contacts you were going to make and stick to that goal, and nothing else matters until you've hit those contacts. It doesn't matter how much business we have right now. If we are not contacting people, that business is going to go, it's going to close, and we're going to be looking for the next person. So put a goal of how many people you're going to be contacting when you're door knocking. Take out 100 flyers. And it's not, okay, I can't wait to put all these 100 flyers on the door and then I'm done. Take those 100 flyers out and say, I'm going to contact 20 people. And then the most I'll put is 80 flyers on doors, because sometimes people don't answer even though they're home. But have a goal of how many people you're going to contact. Contacts is what leads to the appointments. Appointments is what leads to the sold. So now we'll go to expired listings. Okay, here's what's really cool. That buyer that we were talking about that showed up at the open house, his words to us were, he's going to work with whatever buyer finds him the house, and whoever finds him the house, they're going to be able to list his house. So the team and I had a conversation. That's not the best interest for this person. He can stumble across somebody who just got their license, or maybe is doing extremely part-time, who has never done $1 million property. Like, that's probably not the right thing for him. Well, I'm not going to go right to him and say, hey, that's not the right thing for you. Right now we are depositing money into the ATM. Okay. My analogy with that is that I cannot pull money out of the ATM until I've deposited in there. So we've got to make a deposit. So what we're doing for this guy, we looked up expired listings, and we also looked up anything that sold 2 years or further back that fit the criteria. And we are actually door knocking 2 of those houses because we talked to him yesterday. He drove by both of those. He really likes both of those. And we're going to see if they want to sell their house to a ready, willing, able cash buyer. And we're talking 850 plus on these homes. Now, I didn't ask him yesterday after the 40-minute conversation, hey, can I also list your home? I just kept planting the seed of having someone who's professional, having someone that you could trust, having someone who's going to do these things for you. He said to us, because we called him as a team because he met 2 people at the open house, so we want to let him know we're all working for him. He said, out of the other agents that are sending me properties, none of them have done this yet, because we called them about some of these properties that we found that were expired. So I'm going to get into the prospecting part of this, but I want to let you guys know kind of how powerful this is with what happened with this client. So when he said to me that these other agents were sending him properties, I already knew that they weren't sending him properties. Their CRM was sending him properties. Now, kudos to them because they're using their CRM, right? Well, this is my opportunity to say, hey, I said in the conversation later, I said, listen, we're going to do what the other agents probably did, which is set you up on the automatic emails. His response was, oh yeah, that's what they did. Okay, well, I planted the seed that we're going to do that. However, we are also going to do this, right? We are not going to be in competition with other agents who are not doing what they could be doing for this client. We are going to win this client by showing him that he should be working with us. So after we look at a couple of homes, after we send him some more stuff in the next couple of days, I'm going to have a sit down with him about saying we should be the ones that you're exclusively working with. So we're going to earn that right to do it. So let's talk about the expireds. People say they don't like calling expireds. Prospecting, to me, I don't prospect. I think it's a waste of time for me, new recent expireds, because by the time you call them, 15 other people call them and they're irritated. So make it purposeful. Don't be up against a bunch of VAs, a bunch of people who are hired just to make calls to blow them out of the water, to say, hey, do you want to list? Do you want to list? Make it purposeful. Get a list of expireds in your area that are 2+ years back, 3 to 5 years back. Start off with a 1-year time frame and start calling those expireds. Now, the only fact checking I do with these, because you want to be a little bit educated, is I'll check real quick to make sure they didn't sell after they expired. Now, this is purposeful prospecting. Now, here's what I'm getting at of purposeful. I keep saying that word is I'm not gonna prospect for expireds at the same time I'm prospecting new leads. I'm not going to prospect for new leads at the same time I'm sending out mailers. Then I'm just doing a little bit. I'm pretending to do each one. I'm not purposely doing each one. So expireds criteria, again, contacts. How many expireds am I going to contact? Prepare. Don't over prepare. Like I was talking about, you want to make sure that you're checking that it hasn't been sold again. Because if you call them up and say, hey, looks like you tried to sell your house 3 years ago and it didn't sell. They're like, oh, well, we just bought this 6 months ago. Okay, well, we weren't prepared for that conversation. Value. What's the value that you have to be able to get the appointment? Not to sell them on the phone of how you should sell their house. I think that's where a lot of us go wrong, is we're trying to get them to commit to use us to sell their home, right? We're on the phone with them. What's the value you have for them to let you in the door for that appointment to see if you're the professional to use to list their home again to sell it for them? Timeline. I already talked about that. Timeline is how far back are you going? You can even go 6 months back. Give it some time from when it did expire to where they're not used to or trying to still get over the 25 agents that called them the day it hit the MLS. So when you're prospecting for expireds, and I've already said it, and I'll get into this more, that just do that. When you're prospecting for new leads, just do that. Circle prospecting, just do that task. If you jump in and you do too many at once, you're not doing all of them to the best of your ability. So anybody could throw anything in of expireds or experiences that they've had with expireds, something that's been helpful or fruitful for the team here.
And, I'd love to hear from some folks as well. Jason, just really quickly, because if any of you are new to this part of prospecting, just for your assistance, we went ahead and listed off some companies. I'll say them out loud just so those of you who are watching this later don't have access to the chat. You can hear them. But Vulcan 7, RedX, Land Voice, Mojo, PropStream. There's a lot of different places. Here's what you may be thinking. Well, I can see when a house expires on my MLS. Yes, but you don't get the owner steal my expired listing. So you need to be able to get this contact information from elsewhere. And these companies specialize in that. Most of them also have an integrated dialer. So that speeds you up as well. I find that an average agent can make just a few calls an hour, 10, maybe 15, 20. If they're not on a dialer, you put them on a dialer, they're going to burn through 200-300 numbers in an hour and maybe have several conversations along the way, because people who don't pick up, that's time occupying of dialing in numbers. So all of these property services do that as well. I just want you guys to have access to this. This isn't just an MLS strategy, but it is a terrific strategy, especially right now, to sell and to grow your business.
If I can raise my hand for a sec.
Go for it, Tyler.
When it comes to expireds, like when you have your initial buyer consultation with somebody, because I've done it a couple of times and double-ended some deals like off of this and collected a couple of expireds, but like you're setting them up on an MLS search for everything new that hits the market that meets their criteria. Like search the expireds. Because then you're calling that person up and you're like, no. I'm literally not trying to like list your house or get you to sell with me or anything like that. Like I have a buyer who literally is searching for exactly what your house is. Like, can I bring them there tomorrow or on Friday? And just like I literally just have the person who wants to see your place because it's got the pool and the 4 bedrooms and the blah, 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 blah. And so there's a massive power in that, because then like you actually show up with the family of 5 and they give you the tour of the property, and then everybody is creating like a nice little just ambiance of like friendship and kindness and stuff. And it's just an easy segue to like jump right in.
That's huge, man. And
I like pro tip.
Tyler, thanks for jumping in, man. That's huge. What I've learned from this, and what I've learned from the years that I didn't do this, is that somebody else was, and that was the person I was always like, man, what are they doing that's getting them all these sales? Well, they're doing these things, right? We can all sit here and wait for the next house to pop up on the MLS. We can all sit here and wait for a for sale by owner that doesn't have in the listing. If you're an agent, don't call for the first 2 weeks. We could all sit and wait for those, but we got to get out there and create the business. I used to be in the auto industry. So did you, Tyler. I learned this from being in the auto industry. When I drove to work, I drove past 300, 400, 500 potential people who wanted to sell their car, you know, because we also bought cars. Well, how many houses do we drive by on our way to go show a property, on our way to the movie? I mean, there are houses out there for our clients. So what are we doing to get those? That's part of prospecting. When you're taking a day where you're saying, I'm just prospecting for clients that I have that need to find a home that is not out there yet. That's purposeful prospecting, when you're dialing in what they're looking for and cold calling those people who have that home that was expired, or they did try to sell, it terminated. Maybe they bought 2+ years ago. That's purposeful prospecting for the clients that you have that are ready, willing, and able to buy. And guess what? Most people will sell for the right number. They will. They bought it 2 years ago for $600,000. They could sell it for $900 cash, or $900 finance, whatever it is that you have for a buyer. They would be interested to listen to what you have to say. So expireds, there's a couple ways to do that. Thanks for sharing, Tyler. Appreciate it. Then we have for sale by owners, which we talked about. So this was really big to me when Jeff brought this up. I've never been a numbers guy, and this is where I realized I was failing at prospecting. I wasn't understanding the percentages of contacts. I wasn't understanding the percentages of calls, of how many clients work with the first agent that they talk to. How many clients after, work with you after how many times you've called. So for example, you have a higher turnover ratio if you're the agent that has made the call more than 7 times to get a hold of a client. This right here for sale by owners, when Jeff said, and I keep going back to you, Jeff, because man, you're powerful. And I look up to you, buddy. 70% of for sale by owners will list with an agent. 70%. So if you need to get 7 out of the next 10 houses that are potentially looking to sell, call the for sale by owners. Okay, they have raised their hand. They are looking for you to sell. Personally, I don't like calling them, but now knowing this, I have to call them. I have a 70% chance of closing the transaction, right? I have and all we're doing when we're calling these for sale by owners is we are calling to set an appointment. Hey, Jeff, listen, I know you've probably gotten a call from anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 agents in the last 24 hours. Am I pretty accurate? Yeah. Hey, listen, yes. I know everybody's got their own value. I know everything else. Here's what I learned, and I couldn't believe it when I learned this, that 70% of people who want to sell their home on their own, for sale by owners like you, end up selling it with an agent. So I did some research to find out why, and studies show that for sale by owners end up making less money, net profit, by doing it on their own. And I would love the opportunity, whether you do business with me or not, Jeff, to be able to show you that information and possibly show you what I can do to list your home and maximize the net amount of money in your pocket. Would that be okay for us to set an appointment for that? I don't care what you say, really, but make the call. Don't say something like, hey, I need to sell a house. Can you please let me sell your home? That might work. I mean, if you call enough people, they might say, okay, but, have a reason to call. Jeff talked about what he did with his script. Now, here's another thing you could do with for sale by owners. All right. You could also call them up and you could see if you could do an open house for them. All right. If you are looking for business and you're going to prospect because you need to find open houses and you need to find buyers, call them up and offer to do an open house. Most consumers, probably not the first time, but the second time, will say yes if they haven't sold their house. Now you get a chance to actually meet them and introduce them. Now, make sure you're doing all things with the right intention. Yes, we would love to list their home. But if we're afraid to ask for that business, which that's okay if we use the word afraid, because I'm afraid every time I pick up the call to make a call. I don't like doing it, but I do it. And I'm going to get into why here in a little bit. I'll tell you my big why. Make the call. You get a chance to build rapport with them. You get a chance to build value. It will organically happen that they say, hey, Tyler, you've been doing open houses for me. I like the way that you work. Can you show me what you could do to list my home? Organically, but do it, build value with them and do it with the right intentions, that you are just looking for the opportunity of the open house. So offer open house, show up to their open house. If a for sale by owners do an open house, which usually they do it for about 7 hours on Saturday and Sunday. For some reason, I see them doing it for a very long period of time. And right when you walk in, they're going to tell you all of the great things about their house. I mean, we know why they don't sell, right? Show up to their open house just to see what's out there for your buyers, and then also to give them your information, let them know that you're there if they have any questions or if they need any help. So when I'm talking prospecting, you can say, you can time block that this Sunday, I am going to be looking to see any open houses that are available with for sale by owners, and that's purposeful prospecting for potential clients. So for sale by owners, we all know what to do. It's just a matter of doing it. So I want to break this down because I learned something in the last book that I wrote, because a lot of people say, well, I don't have time. I don't have time. So I wanted to break this down, and it made sense to me, which I've realized a lot of things make sense to me, but once I explain it, it doesn't make sense anymore. So anyways, we're going to see how this works out. So if we did 2 hours of prospecting per day, which that's the goal, right? Whatever it is that we picked to do, we picked a specific task, we're going to do it. That's 10 hours a week. So Tyler or somebody, I'm going to need help with math on this. If we have to sleep, so we're sleeping for 8 hours a night, right? At least 8 hours. I sleep anywhere from 4 to 6. My dog snores. That's what I'm going to say. 2 hours of lead follow-up times 5. We're following up with our leads. That's another 10 hours. Everybody can see where I'm going here. 2 hours per day on appointments. You know, we want 2 hours per day of appointments, right? Right now, I don't have 2 hours per day, but I'm putting that in there because we're going to kill it in our prospecting, and we're going to have 2 hours per day of appointments. That's another 10 hours for the week. We got 1 hour per day of writing offers. We're going to be writing offers every day, guys. We got to prospect right, and we'll get there. There's another 5 hours. 30 minutes of role play per day. I'm not doing that, but hey, I've got time. And after doing this, I realize how much time I have. We role play twice a week. 30 minutes. I like this one. 30 minutes of continuing education. That's it per day, 5 days a week. That would set you aside when you're prospecting with other clients. When they ask questions that you're like, oh, I should know this. I should know what's updated. 30 minutes, 4 hours per day, kids, personal, getting ready, drop off, pickups, gym, whatever it is. You have 4 hours per day to your personal stuff that you need to do. That's 28 hours. 6 hours per week for one open house. That's door knocking, marketing, everything else. Jeff, help me out. What is the math on that per week that we've just spent between some personal time and business?
I believe it's a full-time job.
That was my first part-time job. Here's what this is, and I learned this, and this is what was powerful to me. This equals 138 hours, or sorry, 130 hours. 130 hours right here. We have 168 hours in a week. 168. So we still have, Jeff, back to what you just said, full-time job worth of time to prospect and get business. So for all of us who say we don't have enough time, break it down. We have enough time. What are we pretending to do that we shouldn't be doing that is getting in the way of us prospecting and earning business? When I seen 168 hours in 1 week, I was like, oh, that's not a lot. And then I started breaking it down to say, oh, well, it is. Oh, well, it is. Now, throw in here that you like to go to movies every night. Put 2.5 hours in there. You still got time at the end of the week. Put your Netflix, your social, whatever you do, put in there. You still have time. So we have time to do this. It's a matter of what we do. Okay. So
Jason, what I like about this too is it demonstrates the power of consistency, right? Because sometimes we'll say, well, 2 hours is of prospecting. That's not gonna change my life. And what I like to point out to people is, let's say that you're going to work 50 out of the 52 weeks in the year, and that's times 5 days, you're at 250 days times 2 hours. That's 500 hours, 500 hours of prospecting. So if you're purposeful during that time, that's 500 hours per year of generating new business, direct to consumer, direct to the marketplace. And then you have to ask yourself, well, how many hours do I believe I made direct to consumer new opportunity happen in my business last year? And if the answer is not 500, then start doing this for 2 hours a day.
100%. It's, when I read that book, and that made me think to myself, do I want to keep reading books because I'm learning stuff I can improve on? And that's just a lot of stuff to do, right? But when I learned that we have 168 hours a week, I was like, oh my gosh, all the stuff I say I've been wanting to do, I've always had time to do it. Now I just have to do it, right? And that's for personal, that's for business, that's for everything that I want to do. So I'm on a new challenge, and I'll share this with everybody because this is really big to me. And it goes to being consistent. It goes to being, doing what we say we're going to do. I made a goal starting on Monday that I'm going to walk, and I work out in the morning, but I'm going to walk 20,000 steps per day. I walk a lot already, so it's not that huge of a goal. I've been averaging about 12 to 14, but now I'm going to get that to 20,000, and I'm going to ride my bike 5 miles per day. And I just do that in my new neighborhood. Well, the other day it's 8:45 at night. I have 14,762 steps, and I have not ridden my bike. I put my headphones in and I go out and I ride my bike for 5 miles. I come home and my wife makes fun of me, but that's okay. I have a path in my house that I walk circles in between my kitchen, my dining room, my living room to get my steps in. By 10:01, I had hit my 20,000 step, and then that was it. I was done. But here's what I'm getting to with that. is if we make a commitment to ourselves to do something and we decide not to do it, we are cheating ourselves. And once you cheat yourself once, you've made it okay to cheat yourself again. Don't cheat yourself on the task that you say you're going to do. Make it happen. You can do it. There's enough time in the week to do it. So we'll move on because I'm hoping we have some questions here. That would be awesome. What is your why? So become comfortable, kids, yacht, house, health, freedom, family. Everybody has their why. So I put this at the bottom here, and this is where it gets emotional for me because I realize how powerful this was. And I put this in a lot of hashtags of what I do because my kids are watching. So I know when I said at the beginning of this, when I come home, the person I answer to is that little girl. And I'm already answering to her whether or not she's going to go to college. I'm already answering to her whether or not she's going to be able to get that dress that she wants for prom. I'm answering that to her every day before she's even asked me that question, because those are things I'm working on today. So when I say my why is because my kids are watching, it's because I know that I'm the one who is going to change the trajectory for my family to be able to always have the things that they want, need, and deserve, and know how to work their ass off to get it. So my why is not just because of my family, but my why is because they are always watching me. And when they see me making that call, or they see me smiling because we got that pull for the backyard that they wanted, they know what they're looking up to. So that is my why. My kids are always watching me, and I have to show them, even when they're not around, what person I am and what I'm doing for them. So that's to sum that up. I can get into much deeper with that, but that's my big why. So here's what I wanted to talk about, and this is what's hit me really hard with my CRM, with the business, with everything that we have. We are the CEO of our life. We're the CEO of our company. We are the CEO of our CRM. So I need you to take a good look at your CRM. I need you to take a good look at how you've handled it, what notes you've put in, what emails you have set up, what campaigns you have there. This is why I'm meeting with Liz, because this is no joke. I've got to get this better. You know, there's always room to improve. You need to look at that and say, if I was to sell my business today, how much could I sell this for? If I could sell my repeat business today, how much could I sell this for? If anybody here is in the millions, then you were killing it, and I need to get on the phone with you because I need to know what you were doing. But the reality is, if I went to sell my CRM today, I probably couldn't sell it. That's the reality. You are the CEO of your CRM. What you have put in there is what is going to make you be able to get your why. That is your business. Every day, get in there and make it purposeful. So before you're going to prospect, or before you're going to make those calls, or before you're going to do the open houses, I challenge everybody to take 1 hour per day, because we have enough time. We have 168 hours in a week, and start in your CRM and go one by one and look at how you have that set up. Are they on the right? Are they active? Are they not active? Are they a new client? Set them up right. Hashtag it right. Put the email in. Is the email working? Check your CRM, because there is business in there. Okay. You're the CEO of it. Make it $1 million CRM that you can sell. Now I'm going to share this. And I said this earlier, and this hit me like a ton of bricks. Make your prospecting purposeful in everything that you do. And I've already said this, but here's what I mean is, if I am going to be prospecting for buyers, I need to make sure that I'm in my CRM and I have hashtag buyer. Okay, I'm going to eliminate all of the people who don't have a phone. I'm going to eliminate all the people who are looking to sell. I'm going to eliminate all the people who are just a prospect, who are not, who from many years ago. And I'm going to work directly on buyers. Okay, and then set a goal of how long you're going to do that, and how many contacts you're going to make. And then with everything you do, and I'll get to you real quick here, just in 1 second, Tyler. In everything that you do with this, make sure that you're prospecting for that task alone. And every time you stop and you pretend, you take out the trash, you pick up the phone, whatever it is that you do. This is me personally. I'm more of a stick versus carrot kind of guy. Every time I do that, I internally answer to myself that my kid is asking me a question that I'm going to have to say no to. That's me. Okay, that's how big my why is I don't ever want to have to say no, unless I should say no, because they don't get everything they want, right? Like, I got to be a parent. But I think we know where I'm getting with that. So Tyler, what did you want to say, my friend?
Kind of carry on to something that Mr. Joe Yates like embedded in me. It was like, when you figure out your why, and like that's that big hairy thing, and you know your why. And the question that you need to ask yourself when it comes to time blocking and prospecting and everything else is, what happens if I don't? And like who does it affect if I don't? Right? Like, how does not doing it affect my dream? And like those are like the bigger questions, because like there's so many times in my world like where I don't want to do the dang thing, and but then I'm like, oh, the people who are going to lose are all the people in the room next to me here. Right? Like if I don't go do this, so that's a huge like chunk of everything that I just am super passionate about. So I had to chime in.
I love it, man. My finding clarity with my why has really it has probably been the biggest impact for the business. You know, is really finding clarity on that. I realized this, and I've learned a lot of these from these core 90s. So invite everybody. These things are, you pick up something every time. Everybody says, become comfortable with the uncomfortable. Well, what I realized in my life is that I already had, except for it was the wrong things. I was uncomfortable not being able to go out to dinner with my wife. I became comfortable with that to be able to say, no, we can't, right? Be mindful of what we are becoming uncomfortable. What is uncomfortable that we are making comfortable, okay? If we don't like making calls, we have to say to ourselves, are we okay with where we're at in our business, in our life, with what we want? Are we okay with that? Because if we are, then we become more comfortable with that than we have with possibly somebody telling you no. All right. So I want to open up any questions, feedback. Everybody, I appreciate all of your time. I appreciate you letting me just flat out stuff that is important to me, that I love doing. I really hope that somebody took something from this to say, you know what, here's one thing I took and I'm going to implement it in my business and I'm going to make it happen. So your time is valuable and I appreciate everybody being here. So any questions, Q&A, what do we got?
I can chime in a little bit if that's all right. I know I've been talking your ear off already, but hey, on the prospecting side, like so much of it just like walks hand in hand with each other, and like you can make it so freaking simple for yourselves. Like the open house thing with like the for sale by owners that like Jason was on, you know, like really directing like the phone calls to those for sale by owners and like leading yourself through this process of like, hey, you know, I'm a local real estate agent and I wanted to ask you if we could partner this weekend and have me market your property throughout the week and then do an open house for you on Saturday and Sunday. Is that something you'd be interested in to get your property out there more? Typically, they're going to say yes and be like, awesome. You know, is it all right if I come view the property on Wednesday, just get to know it a little bit, and I'll start marketing it today, and like just trying to set that appointment initially prior and just telling them exactly like what you're going to do. Like, yeah, if I can walk it on Wednesday, I'll start marketing it today. I will go and door knock the whole neighborhood on Friday as well to alert everybody of the open house. And you get those things set up, right? And then like the open house side, I'm always a big fan of like the sign-in sheet is one thing, but already having like 30 CMAs printed out of like, you know, people come in and then you just hand that to them at the end of it and just being on point. There's also a comparative open house sheet, and that's part of the EXP Marketing Center. So handing both things out to people and then leading it into and just like, hey, here's a list of actually 5 houses that are actually for sale right now, and just like right around here in this area, right? Like I'm finishing up this open house at 3. And so if you drive by any of these properties and want to check one of them out, feel free to give me a call because I can start opening doors for us right around 3:45. But the thing with like all the prospecting stuff and like yeah, I just kind of went like a long-winded like for sale by owner into the open house, like whatever it is, you're always setting the next expectation and then just following through. And that's like the most important part about prospecting, I think, is just set the next expectation and then just go do
it. I love it because you're setting up, you're having information there. You're ready to help them. You're making it purposeful. You're not just showing up saying, well, hey, I think that there's another open house going on over here, or I think that this is what the home is worth. You've done your research because you're going to be the agent who did it that somebody else didn't do. And you have a better chance of them working with you because of that. So Lexi, you had a question or comment?
Yeah. So I know this is going to sound kind of dumb, but I know a lot of people struggle with this, and I have at times in my life as well. And that is, how do you get crystal clear on your why?
So that was something I struggled with. I'm 44 years old. I know everybody's shocked. I look like I'm 22. I appreciate it. But that's something I struggled with for a very long time. And here's how I became crystal clear on my why. Was someone will say, where do you want to be in 10 years? Well, I want to own a brokerage. And we've all heard this analogy, right? Or I want to be retired, whatever it is. And then we say, okay, well, 10 years from now. So what are you going to do over the next year to get there? What are you going to do over the next month to get there? What are you going to do over the next week? What are you going to do over the next day? What are you going to do every hour? You know, what's your clarity, right? This is what we're getting to on how you're going to get to your goal, right? Because most people say, well, I want to be retired by, in 5 years, because I said that a lot, but I didn't have clarity on it. So then I started taking that with, okay, I know where I want to be in 5 years. So I found the clarity with that. But why do I want to be there? Well, what is it that gets me there? So then I had to say, oh, well, my kids. Well, of course I love my kids. I see them every day. Okay, well, what is it? I'm no different than anybody else, for one. Okay, I'm no different. But what is it that, where did I have to find that clarity? Is I had to look at it and say, okay, how long have I been cheating my why? They know, they don't know when I don't make the call. They don't know when I didn't set that appointment. They don't know when I didn't, get up and go to the gym. So I had to get clarity on it. And I had to say, okay, what is it every day that I had to do because of what I say my why is? So if your why, I guess to sum that up, if you're trying to find clarity for your why, break it down as if you are saying that this is what your goal is of where you want to be in 10 years. So if your why is to own a yacht, I put that up there, whatever it is. Okay, that's fine. That's your why. Where's the picture of your yacht in your office? Where's the picture of your yacht on your phone? How much does that yacht cost you? How much do you have to put down, or how much cash do you have to pay? And what are you doing every day to get there? Make your why a part of your day every day. If it's freedom, then if you're thinking of freedom, you say, okay, make it uncomfortable for you to walk in the office. Make it hotter in the office than what you want it to be, because freedom to you could be being out in the snow. So break your clarity, break your why down into a daily, what it means to you for that to happen. And the biggest thing for me was when I realized that, and I hope that this helps, when I realized that, what that clarity was, I realized how many times cheating myself was cheating my why. So every time I said no to myself, or it's okay you didn't make that call, or it's okay you didn't do that task, all I was saying to myself was, you really don't want what you say you want, Jason. You say you want it, but you don't. Now that doesn't affect anybody else, on this call. We internally have to deal with that. So that's how I found my why. Was I looked at the clarity every day of what it meant to me. And really, I'll tell you, a big part of that happening was going to Orlando. We talk about this. We talk about the power of going to these things. Everybody should be at EXPCon. I thought about this today. You see a lot of highly successful people there. Why are they successful? Because they're showing up to these. That is no joke. Ed Milet changed my life on my why when he said he was the one who's going to change the trajectory of what was going on in his family for generations up to him. And he was the one who had to do it. And that brought a lot of clarity to my why by showing up around people who are in the place that I want to be and I'm going to be. So hope that helped, and that helped answer that question, Lexi.
That is a completely epic answer, Jason. Seriously, it's such a hard challenge for a lot of us to think about and to put into perspective, but to keep it at the forefront every day, to think of it as, am I cheating myself or am I cheating my why? I mean, that was, bam, big power. Thank you.
Thank you, Lex. So I know we're going to be wrapping up here soon. Did anybody have their hand raised before I kind of close this out, Jeff? No? Okay. So the whole purpose of this, number one, I'm up until about a year and a half ago, I was struggling in my business. Okay. There was a lot of ups and downs, a lot of peaks and valleys. I was struggling. Is there things that we still struggle on that we can work on? 100%. So I'm just here to help pour into whoever wants to show up to these and just say, if all you did in your business, the only thing you did was make it purposeful prospecting, you would be in a different place 6 to 12 months from today than you are right now. I would challenge everybody, one, work on your CRM, and two, just say, okay, I'm going to try whatever this guy just told me, and I'm just going to try to go after 10 contacts per day. I would guarantee, because then I can guarantee that. I said the other day, I'm willing to bet all of Jeff's money on this. So that's how powerful I feel about it. But I would guarantee, because the numbers already show, if you talk to 10 people per day, you will hit 36 sales per month. You've got to talk to them. So thank you, everybody, for your time. I appreciate it. I look forward to next week's Core 90.
Given that we just put all of my money on the line for it, we're going to say 36 sales per year, not per month, bro. But it's
your money, not mine.
Right. No, this is epic, Jason. And I love this concept so much, because a lot of times I think as agents, and you guys have felt this way, I know you have, because I have, and I think everybody has, it's universal. Sometimes we feel out of control in our business. I wish I could do something to turn this thing around, and I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. If you were here today and you stayed conscious, you do know what to do. Then the question is not what to do. The question is if you have the to do it, if you're willing to keep going, and if you're willing to be consistent. And here's what's crazy. Jackie wants the 36 a month. I get it, man. But here's what's fun. Let's just say that you're going to do 10 contacts a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks out of the year. That means you are going to talk to 2,500 people about buying, selling, or investing in the next year if you stay consistent. That's why small numbers expressed over a long time with consistency. I hear some people say, I'm going to talk to 100 people tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, I'm not worried about tomorrow. Then I'm worried about the day after tomorrow. Because maybe you do that. I doubt it. Maybe you do that. But then the day after tomorrow, you need a day of recovery, because you just did what? You burnt yourself out. Jason is preaching a consistent diet of success, right? Everyone knows you can starve yourself right into weight loss. Does it last? No. Same thing with prospecting behaviors. It doesn't last unless you do something that is achievable every day. That's why you time block and you do it every single day, world without end. And then your business gets enormous, because the thing, by the way, I want to make sure that you guys realize this. You talk to 2,500 people a day, or 5,000 if you're talking to 20 a day, because you're doing 2 hours. But guess what? If you do that per year, sorry, not per day. If you do that per year, then by year 2, after you've had your 36 to 60 closings per year, now you have 36 to 60 extra past clients. And when they send you business, how much time and energy does it take to prospect that? None. They call you up. Hey, Jason, you did a great job for me last year, and my friend needs to buy and sell. Awesome. 2 deals. How much do I have to pay them for a referral? 0, because they're a past client. It's an amazing way to build your business. And successful agents have 70% of their book of business off past clients, but you don't get to jump to that end zone, right? This game doesn't work that way. You got to go around the full circle. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200 till you play the whole game. So you got to prospect every day to get there. Incredible stuff. We did put the link for EXPCon again in the chat. Couldn't agree more. And Jason Giles, thanks again for killing it for the community. We really appreciate you guys. And we do this every single week, every Wednesday, right here, same place, same time, 9 a.m. Pacific. And we want to see you guys here. Bring a friend, come every week. We love you guys. Thanks so much for being here. We'll talk to everyone next week.